Welcome back, XRP Collective. XRP Lion 1 here, aka Dave, giving you exactly what you asked for. It is Wednesday. It is 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time. I am so glad to be able to present this information to you. I can't tell you how long I have waited for this day, for these days, for this time, just like the Lord has said. This is his time, this is his age, and you are his land. Your hearts are his land, his soil. I put out the pre-release executive summary the other day. You had a chance to take a look at that information. I know it's a lot to take in, but here's the important thing. We're going to cover a lot of information today. It's kind of like when I was in college. I took a tax course, and the very first day we had a female teacher who was a manager over at Price Waterhouse. And there was one other teacher who had been at San Diego State for years teaching tax. And everybody was in her class thinking, oh, she's going to be the easy grade this semester. Well, it was standing room only in the class. I got there early and had a seat. And the first thing she said is, I know there's a lot of people in the room that aren't interested in taking Mr. Barlow's class, but let me just reassure you right now that we are going to go over and read every chapter in the book. And she said, I know he only covers about 5 chapters, but we're going to cover every chapter. And she said, if you don't think this is for you, please leave the room. You should have seen how fast that room emptied, because there were 12 chapters in the book. He was going to do 5. She said she was going to do 12. It took about 30 seconds to empty that room out to about 15 people. I was one of the 15. After the room was cleared, she said, one more time, anybody else that doesn't want to be here, you've got 5 seconds. Once those doors close, you're in my class. 2 more people got up, so we were down to 13. And then she asked somebody to close the doors. And she said, congratulations. You are, and she counted the number of people, the 13 people that have decided to take my class, knowing that we're going to cover all 12 chapters. Now, she said, what they don't know is that I didn't say I'm going to test on all 12 chapters. Nor did I say I was going to make you read all 12 chapters. She said, I'm going to test you on 5 chapters, but she said, here's the importance. And this is what she knew as a manager in the tax department at Price Waterhouse, San Diego. She said, the important thing is exposure. She said, you're going into an area that's very technical, and testing isn't always the best way to determine a person's skills. And she said, you'll come back to remember this class over your lifetime, because it was not important that you could comprehend and regurgitate the information. What was important is you knew where to go find it. And let me tell you, when I went to work for the Big 8, I was one of 6 people that got a job that semester out of 500. And mind you, I was getting a job in Los Angeles, not in San Diego. So it was even tougher. But that was what I became known for, was the ability to find information, do research, come up with answers. And it's very similar to what we're going to do today. Like I said, it isn't important that you understand the why. It's more important for me that you understand the how. How we got to these numbers. And the path that we took is the simplest and the truest. And when I say the truest, I mean this algorithm, this binary base 10 algorithm that I used in order to determine these valuations. I learned this back in the 90s. And it was coming forward and trading in the markets, building algorithms to trade the futures markets, learning about Fibonacci, learning about retracement, learning about the other aspects that take place in the market. That really, really drove my interest in this industry. And I'm not speaking crypto, or I should say digital currency or digital assets. I'm just talking about the science, excuse me, the science or the quantitative certainty that nature and the entire universe were built upon. And that's what this base 10 model is all about. There isn't any other model that exists that follows these basic laws. Just like we have laws for gravity, and we have laws for light, and we have laws for magnetism. Well, you're going to come to see here, and when you've probably already seen it in the paperwork. But, there are laws of exact proportion, of harmonic rhythm, of distribution. And that's what they use in the markets today. They just don't tell you. They create the atmosphere of chaos because they cause the chaos. They use these natural laws to move the markets. And then they use their own manipulation to basically steal your money, take your money. And I don't want to get too far off on that, but it's important that we at least touch upon it. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I remember back in the 2000s, early 2000s, it wasn't uncommon for Goldman Sachs to come out and say, oh, we just wanted to let you know that we didn't have a losing day in the last quarter. And we didn't have a day where we made less than $100 million. Now, wait a minute, hold on. You didn't lose a trade. You didn't have a losing day. You didn't make less than $100 million in a day. How are you doing this? It's not possible. And then it would go quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter. And it would be like 5 years of quarters where they never lost it, had a losing day, never had less than 100 million a day. I remember the announcement when they said we had one day where we were less than 100 million. But we made it back the next day. We doubled. And I thought, oh man. But see, I dove into the markets and I studied. I studied the patterns. I could see the patterns. I could see what was going on. And I followed W.D. Gann, and I followed a lot of the top traders and the system builders, Bressler and so many others that were there in the beginning and set the digital aspect for trading. And when you think about the digital asset marketplace today, that's what it's all about. You don't hear too much about people wanting to hold like we're holding XRP. Most people are holding because they're so upside down. They can't bear to take the loss. So their desire is that these other coins go up. Well, that's fine and dandy, but XRP is not one of those tokens. It was never designed, nor was it built to play in that sandbox with those other coins. It's kind of like you look at some of these professional athletes. I don't want to name any of them, but you can pick your sport. And they're just phenoms at, 15, 16, 17 years old. And they're just that one-off, that, 1 in a million. Well, XRP was designed and you're going to come to find out some pretty interesting things here. But it is set apart. I mean, God did that for a reason. And we'll talk about that. And I know you've heard me mention this in other videos, but what am I trying to do here? What was the task? In the confidential committee, in the valuation committee, the task was to put together the best representation model to determine two things. Number one, the price of XRP as the world reserve currency. And number two, to determine the valuation for all the money. Now, there's already been a valuation put out there using the collateralization model. And I'm covering what picks up from there and goes right into base 10. Base 10 is the fundamental mathematical algorithm, like I said, that everything was built upon, and it's continued to be in full use today. It provides the greatest understanding of harmony and balance, and that's really where we're going, not only in our economy, but in our consciousness and our spiritual development. And it gives everything time to do what it needs to do, to grow and expand. Because what we're entering into is this period of just tremendous expansion. And it's built on a solid foundation. It's not built on sand. The word says to build your house on rock, on a foundation that will weather everything. And that was really the task in XRP as a minted coin and the XRPL as the, how do we want to define the XRPL? Let's look at the XRPL as the all-consuming database, blockchain. See, I came into this, I didn't know one thing about digital currency. I didn't know anything about blockchain. All I knew was the Lord grabbed me and said, Dave, would you come and be my messenger? Because we need to get this message out that they're trying to steal XRP from my chosen. And when God asks you to do something, and you love him the way I love him, you put everything else down and you run to do that. Now, did I put up a little fuss in the beginning? Absolutely I did. I wanted to do my thing, right? Well, it wasn't working. Off and on. And it wasn't because I didn't know what I was doing. It was because of the time we were in, and his plan that was created before time began. It was evolving. It was expanding. It was taking the land. It was taking my heart. And if there's anything you know about me, my background was in tax and accounting. I've been in that industry for 35 plus years. I don't do income taxes anymore outside of just family. I did high net worth individuals. Corporate returns. I worked in downtown LA. I did the CEO for a U.S. bank. Big high net worth individuals. As a matter of fact, even did the tax return for the gentleman that owned Yellowstone Ranch and actually saved it. It was actually called Chief Joseph's Ranch. And he was of Indian descent. He was an architect. Sold an engineering firm in Newport Beach, California. and then bought Chief Justice Ranch to save it from the developers. And then here there's a TV show about it. But, those are the type of things that I was involved with, 5,000, 10,000 member real estate partnerships. So that was my background. Spent 5 years doing forensic accounting to catch some fraudsters. Worked with the FBI. They got convicted. So I kind of treated this the same way. Let's turn over every rock. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's lean into the Lord. Let's get wisdom, right? Where it says, if you lack wisdom, go to the Lord. His Holy Spirit will go to him and seek out the deep places, and he will return with an answer. And I'm living proof of that every single day. That's why you hear me say I spend my day with him. Why am I going to try to figure it out? He's got all the answers. And he loves it when we spend time with him. He's just like any papa that loves his children. So I just asked, just kept asking, kept thanking and praising him for having already done everything. See, that's the key. People think that, he's just doing stuff constantly or not doing stuff because of what we're not doing or what we're doing. It's not the case. He saw our life before we even became flesh. He saw everything that's already happened, and he already made it so. We're just living out the manifestation of everything that's already laid up in heaven. But yet, we want to wander off and go live our own life. And he has this beautiful bounty, inheritance for us. And that's what this is. So I just praised and thanked him, and I leaned in and I said, Papa, show me everything about XRP. I know you already know it. I know it's already done. Tell me everything. Let me know what's going on. And he would just share these things with me, and I would post them, and people would think I was crazy or something. And then a week or two later, somebody would come out with the truth and like, oh, whoa, XRP Lion said that, and it happened. And remember, just understand, it's not me. He's the pen. I just get to hold the pen. And he tells me what to put down on the paper. And he corrects me. It's like I did a post the other day. It was called, What Do You See? And I put a question mark. And he goes, no, take that out. It's an exclamation point. And the moment that revelation hit me, it was like, Papa, you're not asking, you're telling. He says, yeah, this is a statement. What do you see? Not, what do you see? And it was like, whoa. And then I did that gematria, and it just laid it all out. But that's the revelation. It's fresh and new every single day. And we work on these little pieces. And, I've compared it to, a software developer. I got 15 people working on a software program. Each person's got their own little piece, and they don't know what it does. But when all the pieces come together, it works. It's software. Well, that's this in a nutshell. Going all the way back to April 3rd of 2021. So we're just moving forward. We're walking out our inheritance. Like Paul said, just walk out your salvation. Well, we got Christ. We got Jesus. So we're walking out our inheritance. That's the cool part. That is absolutely the cool part. Okay, guess what? I forgot to hit record button on the slides. So we had a nice little 20-minute conversation with no pictures. So hopefully I'll be able to fix that. But let's go ahead and go into this. Like I said, we're going to cover a lot of different stuff, but I'm going to drill down on some specific things that I want to walk you through. And what's really important to understand is there's a methodology to using binary base 10. And if your approach is incorrect, you're guessing. You're speculating. And my cousin, who I found out is W.D. Gian, excuse me, he made the comment that the only way, excuse me, to avoid speculation is to know your cause or causes. And that's approaching this the wrong way. Excuse me just a second. Sorry about that. My throat somehow got dry from just a quick little break. So I apologize that. It's been a little different coming into this drier weather from being up in Washington State. And my system is getting rid of 26 years of mold and fungus. So my nose has never run more than it does now. So if you hear me sniffling a little bit or you see me on a video and I'm kind of moving my nose around, it's because my nose is really dry. And then it gets dry and then it starts to run. So thank you for your patience with that. So we got the recorder working. This is my first time using screen record versus just laying up my slides. So we'll see how this works. If it doesn't look like it's working, well, I'll go back and redo it the old way. But again, it's approach, okay? And, as we identify here, this particular universal mathematics system calculates the exact perfect proportion, fractal, controlling nature in the universe. And what does that mean? If you've ever seen a fractal, it's like where they drill down on something and it looks like the coastline, and then they keep drilling down on it and it looks like the coastline again, and they go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And the picture just is the same, and it's clear and crisp. Well, that's what base 10 does, because it uses geometry. Just basic geometry. But it's beautiful. This picture on the front with the spiral, that is just mathematically perfect. And there are rules. Let's not say rules. There are laws that hold all this in place, because remember, it's numbers. Nature and the universe are held together by numbers and substance, which is God. Because if it wasn't for numbers, we wouldn't have time, we wouldn't have nature, we wouldn't have the universe, we wouldn't be here. And there are ratios in our body. Measurement of fingers to the hand. All of these sacred ratios. Fibonacci, golden section, spiral. And it's all important. It's like it says, then it talks about gematria. And I love gematria. I didn't know a thing about it. God just walked me through it. And I don't do it the way other people do it. Because gematria is really, it's a story. It's like the Bible. The Bible is the Rhema word. It means living, alive. That's why you can read a scripture one time and go back and try to read it again. And there's nothing there for you. But you read it when your spirit is open and ready to receive. And oh my gosh, it's just like, it just goes right to your heart. You just understand the revelation like you've never thought possible. Well, this is what happens when I'm doing the gematria. I don't go in looking for a result. I don't know if it's going to be too long. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Okay, we'll try it again. I don't know what's going on with my throat. That's really weird. This never happened before. And of course, it's happening when I'm trying to share with you the most important piece of information with regards to XRP. But like it says here, it says, what is the gematria? A good definition, might be spiritual geometry. Well, that's what the word gematria means. It means geometry. I didn't know that until I was putting all this together. Like I said, I just lean into the Lord, and he gives me everything I need and walks me through what I need to do. And then when it's time, he pulls it all together right in front of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how come I didn't see that? Well, because I wasn't supposed to see it. But that's okay. But, the gematria, it tells a story. It provides guidance. I mean, I'm just getting chills right now just thinking about some of these last ones. And the one with the sonic boom, he just loves to have fun. God loves to have fun. He loves showing off, especially after, I get in there and I erase sonic boom and I put XRP boom, boom, boom. And then I go do the gematria, and what does he pop in there? Sonic boom. It's like, whoa, Lord. He just constantly proves his incredible awesomeness and how much he cares about this project for everybody. Man isn't stopping what he already has done. And they know that. You've heard me talk about that before. They know they're not coming against his wrath. So when it comes right down to it, the number is what it is. And they're going to make sure they pay what it is. And that's not because I say so. It's not because Jimmy Valley says so. It's because God already said so. And all we're doing is being great stewards of the gift that he's asked us to carry for you, for all of you out there. Whether this is the first time you've ever heard me speak, or it's the 100th time, the message doesn't change. And, talk to some people that have been around for this almost 2 years now. My message hasn't changed. It's as solid as it was day one. I don't have to defend a position because it's not mine. I'm not giving my opinion. I mean, every single part of this, the Lord has been right there with me. Nope, not that, Dave. Nope, not that. Hey, let's go do that. I mean, it's a full-time. It's a full-time service that I'm providing right now. Would I have it any other way? Heck no. I mean, being able to spend time with him like I do now. I mean, I can only imagine what it's going to look like with the restoration, with the inheritance, and what is accomplished. See, he already knows what that is. It's already been done. We'll just be walking it out together. And I encourage all of you to do that. That's why here in the Phoenix area, we're going to have a place for all of the foundations to call home. The collective, the XRP collective. He gave me that name. And that's what the group will be known for. The fact that we're combining not only our resources, but our personalities and our love for his people to take on these humanitarian projects, be a blessing to the world, and do it in such a way that other people are in awe and want to participate in what he is doing through us. That's the end game. Not how much I do for myself, not how much we do for ourselves, not what kind of car we drive, what kind of house we have, how many vacations we have. No, none of that. It's about how are we going to use this restoration blessing, which is our inheritance from our Father in heaven, to be a blessing on earth, that people would come to know his love. See, back in 2004, when I went straight into the throne room to see him, because everybody was convinced we were all going to heaven tomorrow, and I got right there and I told him we needed more time so that people could come to know his love. And he said, you have at least 50 years. Well, that was 18 years ago. So that gives us 32 more years from now. To pour into what will be the greatest harvest in the history of mankind. So he's bringing the largest transfer of wealth the world will ever see. He's bringing a financial system with a foundation of love, the greatest the world will ever see, all for the harvest that awaits us as his sons and daughters. Drop the mic. That's it. All this other stuff is done. I mean, we could end right now. You've already got the numbers. You already know what they look like. You could decide for yourself. Is this where I want to be? Do I have enough faith? And when I say do you have enough faith, it's not what you do. It's whether or not you have the Holy Spirit. See, that little scripture about the mustard seed isn't about us. It's about us receiving the Holy Spirit into our life to manifest whatever God had already laid up for us. You've heard my story about that with the house. I did everything I possibly could to sell that house. Excuse me. Not an offer for 13 months. Went to a conference. The gentleman doing the conference asked everybody on the very last day before we were getting ready to go get on planes to go home on a Sunday night. Said, stand up. 800 people in the room. Said, I want you to raise your hand if you think you have enough faith right now to be healed. 3/4 of the hands went up, including mine. Reaching for the sky. Here's what he said. He said, I'm sorry to tell you, you don't have enough faith, because if you did, you would already be healed. Oh man, it just hit me like a dagger. How could I not have enough faith? I worked so hard. I prayed hard. I tried to be good. I did good things. And he said, what you need is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is faith, just disguised. Because he said, if you had just a mustard size amount of the Holy Spirit in your life, then those mountains would be moved, because God wouldn't allow them to be in front of you. And in that very moment, I felt the Holy Spirit touch me and say to me, your house is sold, because you just let me do it. Got home, flying home from Kansas City. Got home about 1 o'clock in the morning, super tired, went right to bed. Got up the next morning, in my office praying, so I started my day. My wife comes up and says, honey, you're not going to believe this. There's 3 messages from the real estate agent. She's got 3 offers yesterday. We closed a week later. All cash buyer. This is what's happening with XRP. The XRP community doesn't know what they have their hands on. But you guys do. Because you've been hearing it from him in those posts, in those videos, in those messages, and even right now. God has already done everything you need. Nasara Jasara is coming. That's coming first, remember? He changed the order. It's supposed to be XRP, but then let me back up for a second. He didn't change it. Man got the order wrong. They wanted to do it the way they wanted to do it. And he set them straight and got them back on the plan. Nasara first. The moment it's announced, XRP buyback begins. The process. Getting the attorneys involved, finding the liquidating agent, setting everything up. That's what we're doing in the group right now. I've been doing that since last September. So it's not like I don't know what's going on. I've been right there. Ground zero. And he's just been showing me and walking me through exactly what's taken place. And he's okay if it didn't happen, in December last year like it was supposed to. Because they got out in front of it. And of course, you know the story about the contract with the devil and how that expired. Well, now I'm going to blow your mind. Wasn't sure if I was going to put this out there or not. But you heard me talk about the Mayan calendar. And I went and he revealed all that. Enoch, etc. I mean, he had me saying Enoch helped the Maya build it before I even knew they did it. And then when I started doing research, I'm like, wow, Enoch helped them do it. So see, I don't worry. I don't have any concern about what he tells me not being the truth. No, it is the truth. The world just has to catch up and accept it. That's why I know what this is. Because if it wasn't, he would tell me. And I wouldn't be doing this. This is too important. He knows the hearts. He knows the people that have been praying. He knows how much each person is going to have, right down to the penny. He knows who's going to have XRP and who isn't. And, I hate to break the news, but there are people that aren't supposed to have it. And that's just the way it is. And he's already made sure of that. And you've seen the posts on that. And there's still another test coming. And I've put posts out and I've been preparing everyone for that. So you all know what you should have already done. You need to make sure that your heart is pure, it's clean, it's ready. With that land with no weeds on it. Because he's the master planter. He's going to provide the seed. He's going to plant it. He's going to fertilize it. He's going to harvest it. That's why we do it with him together. So what do we need to know about this? We know this is his system. He created it. He built it. Okay? Let's go take a look at a couple slides here. I posted this picture some time ago. Take a look at that picture. Let me show you what I saw. I saw a warrior. I saw like a big spear right here. And this was the horse that he was riding on. Like there's a leg, there's the head, and there's a leg there, and there's kind of the curled up right front leg, tail, there's his arm. I said, Lord, what is that? And he goes, this is my warring angel. I'm like, warring angel? I'd start looking that one up. So I get on the internet, and lo and behold, who's the chief warring angel? Michael. Michael's the one that showed up to settle the dispute when the angel was bringing the answer to Daniel. When he had prayed without ceasing for 21 days. And the angel showed up to Daniel and he said, I'm going to paraphrase this. Daniel, please forgive me for being late, but I got held up. There was a battle over truth. And Michael had to show up and tell the enemy that he had to let me pass to bring this blessing to you. But it's important you know that if you had stopped praising and thanking for what God had already done, I would have had to have taken it back. And I would not have been able to bring it to you. See, that's the power of praise and thanksgiving. Praise and thanksgiving is what Daniel did so that the manifestation of what God had already done was released and sent to him immediately. But see, when people don't know that, what happens? They change their mind. They grow weary. And the moment they change their mind, what they had prayed for goes straight back. Now see, prayer is really praising. Prayer means praising. It doesn't mean, oh Lord, please help me. Oh, I'm in trouble. If you do this for me, I'll do that. No. That's not praying. Why? Because you're not acknowledging what he has already done. You're hoping he will do something. Well, he can't do what he's already done. That would be asking God to contradict what he has already done. It's like, no, Daddy, don't do that. I want this. Well, maybe I don't want that. No, now I want this. No, God already saw everything. He saw the past, present, and future. So already took care of it. So when we understand that, we can stay in line knowing it's already done, just like XRP, this buyback. It's already done. Nobody talked about a buyback. Jimmy Valley talked about a value for XRP, but the Lord brought the concept of the buyback. I mean, everybody looked at me like, what? A buyback? What are you talking about? This is a coin we're going to hold and we're going to stake it and we're going to make money just owning it. No. No. That's not what this is all about. And that's certainly not where we're headed into his new quantum financial system. No. We're going to be offered a fantastic amount of money for having been given the opportunity to hold on to it for a short period of time. And what are we acknowledging? We're acknowledging that it was his gift. It was his blessing towards us. Not that we did anything. The Holy Spirit put the unction in us to buy it. Confirmed it. We heard somebody mention it. We went into action. I told you a story about my brother asking me to take a look at it. It was digital currency was the farthest thing from my mind, outside of having, I can look back now and go, wow, I blew it with Bitcoin, but no, I didn't blow it. Why? Because they really stole it from me. But that's okay, because we're getting a heck of a lot more now. And of course, Bitcoin, Ethereum, it's all going to zero. Serves no purpose. Not in God's economy. But this was a really cool picture. I really liked that. Because this is what he does for us. Okay? Now let's go back to just some of the pictures. I want to get some of the pictures. Okay? This is what's called the golden spiral. And this is filled with geometry that repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats and repeats. So if you go clockwise, starting at the 6 and you work down to the 1, it just continues to go and spiral down and get smaller and smaller and smaller. But it never loses proportion. It never loses the exact perfect proportion. There's a harmonic rhythm. There is a distribution. It doesn't go away. And when it comes back the way it's coming, which is counterclockwise, it's how the markets are set. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is how the markets have been trading up until this digital asset environment. Now, in order for XRP to do its function, which is to be a liquidity token, to be the backstop for the entire global financial market. Okay, and I want you to think about this. The entire global financial market. Every single country in the world. It's anticipated that by March of this year, every single country, their currency will be trading par, 1-to-1, with the U.S. notes that are coming. Of course, you all know the fiat currency system is dead. Federal Reserve is bankrupt. They're out of business. They have no power. They're nothing more than a board that supervises compliance. That's it. Can't create any more money. That expired in July of 2022. So we've already moved to a gold asset-backed currency, new U.S. notes, and the paper money is called rainbow currency. And the reason why it's called rainbow currency is because God made a promise to Noah. And in that promise, he promised never to wipe mankind out again. Because Noah was the one righteous man who loved God. So God granted him and his family the ability to survive. And that's why there was the flood. The flood was to get rid of evil that was on the face of the earth. You can go read about that. It's documented in all historical documents. And what was the symbol he used as a reminder? The rainbow. So it isn't tied to an organization. That's not what this is about. This is about God's promise. And every time we look at that currency, we're reminded of what God did and how he got rid of evil. And that's what's been happening. Evil has been eradicated. So as we go forward into this new quantum financial system, that's his. He's brought heaven to earth because it's now his time, his age, his land. He can do everything and anything. Meaning whatever he already did, it now releases the manifestation. And we're the ones that are receiving that blessing and that benefit for his chosen to come. The ones that are chosen now receive in order to harvest, prepare for the harvest. All those out there. They're still good people. There's nothing wrong with them. Man, I knew a guy that was one of my clients. He was in the timeshare business. Man, what a great guy. Man, he cared so much about all of his employees and everything else. And, I talked to him about God and it didn't interest him, but he was just a great man. Doesn't mean God didn't love him. Oh, heck no, God loved him. God knew one day he'd come home. And that's the harvest. There's so many people out there just like that right now. And that's what we're working towards. And that's why we have to be diligent. We have to guard our gates, our ears, our eyes, our mouth. Because there's a higher calling to go forward. Good is not good enough anymore. He said, good is the enemy of great. He expects greatness. He expects great stewards of this blessing, of this restoration, of this inheritance. Mind you, he went back every single generation before your generation. And he stored up all of that was stolen by the enemy, and he multiplied it. And multiplied it and multiplied it over 77,887 years. For now. Some get more, some get less. He already decided that. He already knew. But everybody gets something. That's the importance going forward. So what we do is we have to take a look at what is all the money. See, that was the key. You had to know where to start. Remember I said you had to know where to start with binary math? You don't start trying to figure out the price of XRP as the world reserve currency. You have to start by figuring out how much all the money is. And when he showed me that, it was like, oh, that's it. That's the money. And there are things that we just don't have a solid number on. But it doesn't change what you're going to see and what you know. It just means that the number could be a whole lot bigger. That's all. So having this base is more than enough. So in the work that I did and what he guided me through, we came up with a determination of what all the money is. And we've included Nasara Jasara. We've included the, no income taxes, the quantum effect of trading on quantum computers from space through Starlink. Trading through the XRPL, which is the only unhackable platform in existence. And it's not from here. It's off planet. It was a gift. It was given to us. And it's been working for millions and millions and millions and millions of years without a flaw. And that's why the banksters couldn't steal it. They tried. They tried to make their own version and then realized, how do we do that? It's like it's technology that we don't have on Earth. And that in itself right there, how do you value it? How do you value something that can't be hacked? How do you value something that at the quantum level can do 100 quadrillion transactions per second? I mean, right now, XRP does 1,500 transactions per second. That's all it can do on our stinking earthly internet. It sucks, but it's okay. See, they've just been buying time to get up on the satellite, get this thing going at quantum speed. It's kind of like taking a race car, and now you got to drive through the school parking lot, and that's all you get to do. Drive it through the school parking lot. But it was made to go fast, wide open, but you can't do it. That's what's happening right now. I mean, they've been running this thing simultaneous with our financial system and financial systems around the world with other central banks without a flaw, without a hiccup. Trillions of transactions. They just don't publicize it because they don't want it to get a lot of attention. And of course, remember, there was a coup to steal it, but God thwarted that. That's why he pulled me here and pulled other people in. So this buyback is not a mystery. It shouldn't be anymore. And anybody and everybody should be coming on board, trying to get their piece of this thing. And I'm not giving financial advice, because the rest of it's burning to the ground. You saw my interview with Mel. There's me about 24 coins that survive. There's a reason why it's 24. 24 is a sacred number. I discovered that number in the Leonardo da Vinci painting or drawing of the Vitruvian Man. It's found in the Atlantean calendar. It's found in the I Ching. It's found in the Mayan calendar. 24 is a universal number for time. So why would it be any different? 24 symbols. Don't need any more than that. But every transaction in the world will go through the XRPL. Every transaction on the blockchain, XRPL, every ballot on the blockchain, XRPL. And we're worried about XRP? No, we own XRPL. It's like XRP for life. Why? Because we're going to receive that beautiful restoration blessing. And then we're going to have the capital to go off and do other things. Because here's kind of what it looks like. You know, I talked about some of the different things in the gematria. What does it mean? I know you've already read this. But these are all phrases that came up in gematria that he had me do. The very first post he had me do, which was May 13th, 2021. That was on Ascension Day. Had me releasing the perfect math proof. I'm going to say it again. Perfect math proof. That's what this is, people. This is the culmination of everything that he set forth in nature and in setting up the universe and everything else. It has perfect alignment. It has perfect circles. It has perfect math. It has perfect numbers. It has perfect proportion and symmetry. It has perfect square. It has perfect time. And what I did over here is I broke it out. So all these little squares right here, I made them linear, going up at a 45-degree angle. So here's where we break out of the box. So all of these boxes here at the bottom are in here. This box is in its original position. This box right here would be here, but I moved it to the right because that's in time. Time moves to the right. And then this box right here, which is the box that all the math is done, and how we arrive at the price for XRP as world reserve currency, is this box right here breaking out and moving higher. And what you see is how this is broken down into the various squares, which is 8 by 8. And you see these little arcs. So it kind of looks like a leaf. Well, this is a algorithmic scale of perfect proportion, perfect math, perfect balance, perfect. I coined the phrase the perfect 7. So it shows the angle at which everything is going to grow and move forward as all the money is being utilized with XRP as the token coin, right? And how it's going to increase over the next 10 years. Well, there's only seven years left in our equation. But it'll oscillate between these two, and I call them rhythm bands. This just gives you a little bit about W.D. Gann, market genius. That's W.D. Gann right there. That's me. Freaked me out when I did this. Lord had me put my face over his. I mean, it's unbelievable. Every little crease, how I hold my mouth, everything it just matched right up. I was like, whoa, it's, kind of blew me away. So he's my cousin. I'm 14th generation American from the Mayflower. My grandfather was William Standish. If you know anything about the Pilgrims, he's the guy. Okay, moving along. More about the natural laws within this one universal system. Exact perfect proportion fractal. Pure and perfect math. all these little squares that you saw, these are called squares in time. And each one of them is a base 10. So 10 to the first, 10 to the second, 10 to the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Well, what's 10 to the sixth? It's $1 million. Well, that was hard, wasn't it? I mean, that's about as simple as it got. He just took me right to the answer. And then I had to turn around and write it up so it made sense to everybody else. I already knew what it was. Everything in this WD again. Natural rhythm for all financial markets. He discovered there is a true basis for the central core. Everything in existence is based upon exact proportion and perfect relation. Exact proportion and perfect relation. There's nothing in the universe but mathematical points of force. Time is the most overlooked and least understood factor. And the way I understood it, it predicts movement and expansion. Because that's what's happening with all this money coming into the world. Everything's expanding. Your bank account's expanding. God said, you don't have enough storehouses to put it in. And we see it. We see it in the galaxy. It's all right there, right in front of us to see it. And we want to go off and try to do something else to make it our own? Why? Here's the Vitruvian Man. One of the most famous drawings by Leonardo da Vinci. The Lord has given me more discoveries with this picture than anything else. And it's all broken down in eighth notes. 1/8, 2/8, all the way up to 8/8. There's 8 rhythms, 8 octaves. And this describes the law of exact perfect proportion, distribution, natural and harmonic rhythm. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts. Absolute. We couldn't change it if we wanted to. Everything just moves accordingly. And this is a drawing of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're in 6, okay? Now, interestingly enough, look at 6. 6 in itself takes over all of these other before it. So think about, excuse me, think about XRP, the price being the product of what all the money is divided by the number of minted coins. It's that simple. That's the formula. All the money divided by, we're just going to use 100 billion. We're not going to do the escrow, non-escrow, etc. It's pointless. It is what it is, right? They didn't mint 2 batches, a retail batch and an escrow batch. No, they minted 100 billion XRP, period. They are what they are. Inseparable, not to operate separately, no matter what. This is Einstein's law of relativity. And you can see every one of this little box right here, that's 50%, right? When you move up into that next higher square, 10 to the 5th to 10 to the 6th, it peaks out at 25%, right? So while it's 50% here of this box, it's only 25% here. Well, guess what happens? The moment the market moves, or in this case, calculating the value for all the money, exceeds 25% of this value, which is $1 million, or I should say 100 quadrillion, 10 to the 17th, You can't operate down here in this square anymore, this lower square, because you're out of proportion, you're out of rhythm, you're out of distribution. You have to go to the highest value of the next higher base 10 amount. In this case, if we're looking at just the value for XRP, it's $1 million, but it's calculated and determined on all the money. And I'm going to take you down through there. Thank you so much for your patience. It's important. And like I said, we're going to go over some things quickly so you can go back and look at them. But this is the meat and the potatoes, okay? What do we know about going into the quantum economy? Nobody ever talked about this, ever. And the Lord just dropped it on me like a rock. He goes, Dave, here's what's going to happen when we go quantum through Starlink. Multiple of 4 minimum. And if you go look up quantum, it says 4 times. Well, look what happens when we go from our normal trading hours, currently in the stock market. We go from 251 days in the year, or 1,631 hours, to now a 24/7, 360-day trading year. We go up 5.3x. People, 5.3x in market time. That means we can forecast a minimum of 5 billion to 8 billion more participants. But you say, but Dave, there's only 7 billion people in the world. Yeah, but how long did it take us to get from 7 to 8 billion? It's like a blink of an eye. Well, now what's going to happen with all this love and all this money? Bam, we're going to be at 10 billion, 12 billion, 15 billion. But there isn't enough place. There isn't enough food. Believe me, there is. There's farmers up here in Oregon that don't even plant. They get paid not to grow. There's so much land out there. We can easily have 2 billion people in the United States. Easily. Without any problems. So he just showed me, walked me through a real quick computation. Right now, there's $52.3 trillion worldwide in retirement accounts. 35 trillion of that is the United States. If we just took 25% of this money being freed up because there's no more income tax, and it had 4-to-1 leverage, that's like a double. You got $104 trillion coming into the marketplace overnight. That's called spendable money. Add to that Nasara Jasara at a minimum 1.8 quadrillion. Minimum. The amount of money that went in was 1 followed by 45 zeros. We're only talking 15 zeros to get to quadrillion. 17 to get to 100 quadrillion. So, wait a minute. 45 went in and 17 quadrillion, 10 to the 17th, which is 100 quadrillion, is the total amount of money that XRP needs to be the liquidity token for the world, to backstop all of the global financial markets, with enough cushion to take us into 2030 without any problems. They don't have to go back and ask for more money. See, that was the thing. These other countries, they did not want the U.S. having to come back and ask for money because the economy was booming. I've got growth rates projected at 25 to 25.5% per year once this hits. I mean, we're going to have some supply chain issues. You've heard me talk about this for just a short period of time. As people work through their need to spend, thinking it's going to fulfill them, to realizing that's not where they want to be. That's okay. I'm not coming down on anybody. I'm going to buy a few things I want too. New bass boat, big truck, nice big warehouse to put them in. Buying buildings for everybody to come in and lease space. So we're all of our foundations are coming together for the collective. I want 100 foundations together or more. I got the Vanguard office building right down the street. God's already told me it's mine. And when I say mine, I don't mean my personally. I mean mine to bring people into, to love, to train, to mentor. I got 35 years of financial experience. If I lack something in leadership, I'll bring those people in. I reached out to Zach and said, hey, Zach, how'd you like to come to Phoenix? Help us with real estate. He said, yeah. I welcome any of you that want to come and participate in that. That's an open invitation. Why? Because we're going to be doing God's work. And it takes money. This area has a lot of money. But I don't know how much God they have. We got to get them more God. And I know we're going to be able to do that. I know He's already seen it. It's already done. But we need each other. That's the key. We can't go off and think we can just do this by ourselves. No, that's a recipe for disaster. No, we need to stay strong. We need iron to sharpen iron. We need to have a community. We need to be able to love on people. Love on each other, support, come up with ideas. And I've already got the best guy coming in to take care of all that stuff. He's the expert when it comes to knowing exactly how to operate these foundations, how to utilize the resources, how to vet charities, all the tools. And we're going to make that part of the group. So all you got to do is pay rent. But you get, it's like, okay, you just pay rent, but you get all your meals and you get all this other great stuff. It's like going on a cruise, right? It's all inclusive. But more importantly, we're all on the same page, okay? So I went down and then I added the XRP buyback. $440 trillion. Sounds like a lot, guys. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing. So that puts almost $6 quadrillion in increased trading equity. I mean, that's overnight. And then it's growing and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing and it's growing. I mean, so you can see how all the money calculation, that's what base 10 does. It gives it room to expand without, having it go off the rails. And all of a sudden you've got more money in the economy than you've got backstopped. And with base 10, that can't happen because it has specific rules on when it expands. And those rules don't change. They're not arbitrary. You don't go, well, I don't want to do it this time. No, the rule says to do it because it's a universal law. You do it. Okay. Let's go over here real quick. Oh, this is just another golden ratio. And one of the things that was really awesome is Euler's totient function. And it just shows the distribution of activity and how it just overlays what we already know. This is probably a better way to see it right here. It's a graph I did where I showed 64 days, which is our normal trading pattern, or number of trading days. And I expanded it out to 90 for the quarter. And look at how the angles just played right in to the added days. See, I believe they shortened up the trading calendar to skew what people saw. And they did this for themselves. This was their picture. they showed everybody, 0 to 64 days. Something messed him up. But see, my cousin Gann, he knew this. He already knew it. And the perfect proof for the trend is 22.5 degrees. Have I ever mentioned 22.5 degrees before? 22.5 days? Hello? 360 divided by 22.5? 16. I didn't know that because I didn't know it. I knew it because, again, here's the golden spiral. There's a 3/8 line and a 5/8 line. These are the power points. Why are these power points? Because they cover the wobble of the earth as it rotates on its 23.5 degree angle. Kind of cool. Very cool. And here's that same 22.5 degrees coming up in Euler's number. Something to it. Here's the base 10 function for calculating the price and timeline of the buyback. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful, smooth, in control, proportion, distribution. Why would we ever even begin to think we would want to use something else? That we want somebody to just throw out a number? Let's go talk to David Schwartz. He's been dropping the clues forever. He's been telling us exactly what it is without telling us. 1 million, 1 million, 1 million, 1 million. He wasn't saying 1 million, 1 million. He was saying 1 million. Now go figure out how much all the money is. Because you got to know that in order to calculate back to the million. But you know what? We gave you the biggest number you needed, and that was the number in the middle, which was 100 billion coins. See, if we didn't know that number, we couldn't solve it. We couldn't solve it. We come back over here. Here's Euler's Toshin again, and you can see the 45 degree cutting through and the distribution. Perfect. Just more examples. I'm just going to fly through some more examples here. Here's more examples of the spiral. And you can see how beautiful it is. Perfect proportion, perfect distribution. And this is exactly what the sun does. Or I should say the earth around the sun makes this shape. Let me see if I can find that picture real quick here. There's so many of these pictures. I had to just no, I didn't put it in this pack. It may have been in what you already have. It's all going to go in my book. I mean, there's just so much. Absolutely so much. Oh, look at this one. This is one I did on the buyback. And I used Theodorus spiral, which uses the square roots from 1 to 17. He laid that on me, and I went, whoa. And that's where he told me about dimensions, first, second, third, fourth, fifth dimension. See, man's limited up to the 16th. Square root of 16 is 4, right? Fourth dimension. 17, square root of 17 is 4.123, and I just talked about that the other day. This just talks about what are called rhythm shifts, and this is where they happen at 250, 25, etc. It's 25% of the higher square. Now, this was an interesting calculation. If we're trading 100 quadrillion transactions per second, 24 hours a day, how many transactions? It's up to 10 to the 24th power. And it brought up the discussion. Well, what is XRP going to do? Because it's going to burn coins. Well, I had a real interesting discussion with a genius. That's why I call him. He's a genius in my mind, my eyes. And my discussion was, well, knowing what we know about XRPL and about it being ancient technology. It has to be running on free energy. So why is there a cost? Well, it's because Ripple has things that have to be paid for with regards to this right now. But once the lawsuit's over, Ripple does its IPO. It becomes the bank, so to speak, the custodian, the fiduciary for all of the XRP. Right? Why would we have it change hands? It's already being taken care of. David already knows how to take care of the system. David's operating PolySign, which is just part of the XRPL, right? I mean, how do you make a guarantee that your security is hackless? Well, because it's on the XRPL. That's why. Why would we ever give it to anybody else? Doesn't make sense. It's already in good hands. That's why we can just leave it there and have it operate all from there. And they pull all the coins out of the escrow. Or we get credit for the value of the escrow in the price. Either way, the price is the price. That doesn't change. Doesn't matter how many coins are in use, because they're all in use. Because remember, it's not driven by the price of XRP. It's driven by the value of all the money. See, that's where everybody gets tripped up. So when you do that calculation and you say, what's my value for all the money? Okay, what's my value for all the money? By the way, that's wrong. Please forgive me. That should be a 17, not a 6. Must have been late. I was tired. All the money is the driving force. The product, the value of XRP falls out the bottom. So let me find the equation here. There's so much here. That's why we can't just try to do all this in one fell swoop. And I'm gonna have to pull the plug on this thing pretty quick. But I want to show you this, and then we'll try to wrap up here with. I want to show you that too. Okay, bear with me. Okay, here's the equation, and you guys got this in the other paperwork. Okay, the equation is A divided by B equals C. Okay, A is all the value, B is the total minute coins, C is the price of XRP. Okay, it doesn't work the other way. You can't start with the price of XRP and try to figure out where you need to be. The reason why is because you will underestimate the value for all the money. I did it. And I went, it doesn't work. Lord said, no, it doesn't work. You know how to do it. You need to start with all the money. That's why all the money's always been what everybody talks about. So this becomes an absolute. It becomes a constant. It doesn't change. It can't change. Because if you change this, then you change all the money. So the solution is C equals A divided by B. C equals 100 quadrillion, 10 to the 17th, divided by 10 to the 11th, equals 10 to the 6th, $1 million. So then in order to prove the theorem, you have to ask yourself, does A, 100 quadrillion, and $1 million offer enough quantum liquidity to cover the total of all of the global markets into 2030? Well, you use a growth rate of 8, 10, 12%, too low. Too low. You will be too close to the target. So when the bomb gets dropped, it's going to take you out. You got to have enough, altitude above it to allow it to grow until 2030 without ever having to go back in and raise the price. Why? Because we don't want to have to go back And we don't want to have to put clauses into the agreement that force us to go back to collect more money because we allowed the parameters to be too tight. And all that's going to do is cause problems. And I only bring that up because, other models will potentially have that restriction because they're not focused on all the money. They're focused on burn rates. They're focused on things that at the end of the day don't get us where we need to be. Okay? We have to have a top-down approach, not a bottom-up. See, and I've always been that type of person. I go to space, outer space with all the possibilities, and then I come back and I eliminate the ones that don't fit my solution. And it's so much faster to do that than starting from the bottom where you run into every single problem and you don't get anywhere. All you get is opinions, okay? So we're not after a growth rate, but we're seeking to determine the proper square in time. Okay? You guys can come back and look at this. This is a really, really beautiful clue from Brad. There are levels of liquidity, right? So we're talking about all the money that can support value exchange, right? Exchanging value on a global scale. Global scale. And he says, I have little doubt that will continue to grow by orders of magnitude in the years to come. Well, go look up orders of magnitude. I did post on this. It's all there. And it comes right back to these numbers that we have. Beautiful. 6 plus 11, 17. Gives us all the room we need. We're good. Everything else. Let me show you this. Pretty cool. These are some of the assumptions. And again, I'm showing this so you can come back and look at it and you can see it. Some of the assumptions that were included in my model. I'm going to show you a quick picture of my model and then we're going to wrap it up. Wow. Okay. Hour and a half. Hey, we're doing good. We're doing good. Federal Reserve took out $14.3 quadrillion loan using us and all the real estate as collateral. So we have to add that back in to our all the money equation. That right there, we started with 1.75 quadrillion. This is the model I built called the quantum liquidity calculator. Drop in the numbers, it spits out the result. It tells you exactly what base 10 power you need for all the, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm tired. And I'm getting excited too. All the money. So this was our change coming into 2022. Here's what we're adding. Federal Reserve loan, increase for quantum trading, increase for NESARA, increase for JSARA, increase for XRP, increase for, you heard Jimmy mention this on his interviews, all of the off-balance sheet derivatives that all of a sudden BIS is finding. Oh, here's 80,000. Oh, here's 80,000. Here's 80 trillion. Here's 26 trillion. Here's the unfunded pension and social securities. So by the time we come down, then we use what we call a coverage ratio, but it's really a factor for expansion of the base 10. So it tells us that we're supposed to be in base 10, 17, 100 quadrillion. And I ran 3 different models using different expansion rates, all the way out to the square of 17, which is 4.123. And here we are at 29 quadrillion, and here we are at 94 quadrillion, and we're still in base 17, 10 to 17th. See, that's the beautiful part of base 10. It encompasses everything. So you can have a surprise. Something can pop up. and you're not running back to the G7 saying, Christine, we need to raise the value of XRP because we didn't factor this in. By the way, I made this little tornado too. I think this is really cool. So see how this is burning up? That's the fiat currency, and look what's coming out the top, XRP. I love it. And then the part 2 of the model goes in and it calculates the value, the price for XRP. And again, remember, we're in base 10, so we're always going to be in base 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, blah, 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 blah. Just keeps going. We're not in between. We're not picking, $927,250 is the value for XRP as a reserve currency. Forget it. Base 10, simple. 1, 2, 3, easy. We can have all the assumptions we want to. They get absorbed into the base 10, all the money. Super, super easy. Again, more diagrams. I got these things, notebooks of this stuff, showing all the values and how they work themselves out. Calculations. Did a nice little graphic here on all the money and then how it expands under Nisarg-Sara. The buyback. Well, this was really cool. I got revelation on the root of 0.625. Go check that out. This was the original discounted present value of $1 million using the Valhill formula. That's this one right here. These are my 2 new models using base 10. So you can see with base 10, there is no discounted present value. There is just a value. And all the values are higher. So this is where we were at the end of 2022 under the discounted present value. This is where we are under the base 10 model number 2, base 10 model number 3. And there's more information in there on that. We'll cover that in a different review, but you can see right here the scoring of 0.625. This is a sacred number, right? Fibonacci, golden spiral. There's a little adjustment in here, and that has to do with gravitational pull on the Earth versus space. My cousin Gan, he discovered that, and I picked it right up. So we start out at 0.39, and it works its way up after 7 increases to 390, 625. That's our starting number right here. This is our base 10 for 1/8. But what's really cool, when the Lord showed me this, he showed me the postage stamp, 39-cent postage stamp. January 1st, 2008, 39-cent stamp came out. And then right after it, they went to the forever stamp. And God goes, that's where we are right now. This is forever. This is the forever restoration. Oh, I just get chills saying it again. Whew. But you can see how the calculations worked here. You can spend some time on that. You want to know how big 1 million to 100 quadrillion is? You can take a look at this. This was really cool. You heard me talk about the 7-fold blessing, right? Sorry about that. And Isaiah talks about the 7-fold blessing. And remember, it's not the total times 7. There's folds. So every single computation is then multiplied by 7, multiplied by 7, multiplied by 7. See, I didn't know how to do all this stuff. I don't even know if this is right. But in my mind, it's right. And when I went through the calculation, he showed me this number. And when I did it, I got exactly what the luminescence is for the sun to the earth. Bingo. Then I ran it through with a 7. Start with a 7, and in 7 folds, it's 823,000. And then I did it with the discounted present value. And this is where I said XRP will not go over 46 cents. And here's why. Because God said so. Now it's going to inch up, right? Because we now went from this number here to here. So if you want to do the math, do the math. It's gone up. I know it's gone up. Because they know when they turn the lights out, this is what they have to pay. This is what they have to pay. This is what they have to pay. Now, are we going to ask for this if we know these are available? I don't think so. I don't think Jimmy's going to be negotiating, warring for all of us here when he knows this is here and it's documented, it's provable, it's truth. It's undeniable. Does it mean we're going to go here? We may just settle right here in the middle. Why? Because this is where God is. He's in the middle. Remember how many times he said, I'm in the middle of it. And if I'm not there, it doesn't work. And he's right here. Here's that 625. It's beautiful. It's perfect. This is what went into the calculation for all the money. This is what I began with, $1,750,000. This is the work that I did back in August, September, before the first offer was submitted to the Federal Reserve in September 13th, I think, if I remember correctly. And then October 28th for the second adjustment after we learned more. This calculation of the NASARA payback for everybody, using $1 million, $5 million, and $10 million as a scenario. The younger you are, the less you get. The older you are, the more you get on a 100% scale. Here's a dynamic picture to see what 100 quadrillion looks like compared to everything else. I mean, all of this is just like right here. That's it. There's more than enough for everybody, people. This is a workup I did showing the binary base 10 algorithm over the Great Wave. Beautiful. Perfect. He painted this maybe not even knowing he was following the sacred math. And I have an exercise the next time I'll have everybody do it. And I'll show you already know it. Here's where we see the binary base 10 math showing those two values, 375 and 390. And oh, look over here. Look over here. 385, 544. We had 543 for the discounted present value. It's all in the binary math. Right there. Here's the number of places when we did the 22.5 days. Here's 7 days of creation. Knock yourself out. I have more of these than you could even imagine. Second best book I ever read right here. It was a book on understanding how to control your thoughts and your words, written for the secular community. The Science of Getting Rich isn't about making money. It's about understanding how to communicate with the language of heaven, how to train your mind, control your mouth, control your mind. You saw this. I put this out today. This shows the three models and where we were at the end of December, here, here, and here. This is model 1. And then here's my great little quote. You never get a second chance to make a perfect first impression for the world's global financial markets. See, we can't afford to make decisions and estimates of values if they're not perfect, because that would be failure. Lastly, I just want to show you this. And this is going to be our custodian, PolySign. Unhackable by design. Why? It's on the XRP ledger. It's ancient off-planet technology. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's see. Oh, let's do this real quick. These two books. First edition, second edition. So if you want to read this one, covers everything. If you're dealing with religion and a religious spirit, and you want to get free, you want to know your true identity in Christ, this is the book. It's a very easy read. I read this book and it felt like a 60-pound pack came off my back. And then understanding how to control your thoughts in your mind. Let's see if there's anything else I want to show you real quick. That's why I said, I've got to do more trainings on this. If you're interested, if you don't care, that's okay. That's okay. And lastly, some payout options. And I'm not going to go over this right now. I'm just going to put this up there. You can take a look at it. You saw my graphic here, my infographic. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Let's see if there's anything else I want you to see here. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I do this for the community. I do it for the collective. I'm not compensated in any way. I'm here to do what I can with the Lord and make sure that you know what you need to know. Oh, got to see this one real quick. This is the wave pattern when it breaks out. Okay, breaks out. And check out this on the sevenfold. You start with 0.007. And that is 7 divided by 1,000. Why? Because one day in heaven equals 1,000 years on earth. I mean, when he showed me this, it just flipped me out. But what he did is he set all of this to the 23.5 degrees, which is the axis of the earth. It's right down here. The average of these two amounts here, 100 quadrillion, give or take. But check this out. Okay. Fifth dimension right here, 17. Why? 4.13, 4.123. 4.123. 4.123. Just ask God what that means. He'll tell you. It's coming up. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this put together so that I can get this out tonight for all of you. There's a second interview that I did with Mel Carmine that will be coming out in maybe a week. He ran into some technical difficulties. I will let you know when we're going to schedule the next video. A lot going on. Things are happening right now. So on that, have a wonderful weekend. God bless. And I will talk to you soon.